So these got a little mushed in transportation, but what we'll do is we'll do traditionally a swirl on the cupcake. Danielle, do you know where the bin is with all the sugar?
Actually, these are an example. These are Tracey's. Yes, the swirl.
You can put that right up there and start putting some of that out. You can see this is just like a very, very small amount of some of the things that we use, from edible glitters, pearls, dragees.
What was that?
Dragees are the little silver beads. Have you ever seen them? They also come in gold, like those there. Yes.
Yeah, all this is edible.
All of this is edible, absolutely. The little glitter, we can pass that around so you can see. Those are little stars. We use silver ones at Christmas time. So what we'll do is we'll take a cupcake, and this is the really fun part. Your flowers.
That's great, and this is just a pastel pink colored sugar that just is sort of luminous.
This is really the fun part, where you can pick out something that you made. Like with the daisies, I really love to use a nonpareil on top first.
I'm going to see if I can find you a platter so that people can see the cupcakes out of the box. Is that all right?
These are mushy. They'd be better off looking at those.
Okay. Sure.
I brought a bunch of cupcakes for everyone to try, so.
Do you make all different kind of cupcake flavors?
Yes, we do. We try to stick with a real core recipe list of flavors, the traditional flavors that people like your red velvet, different types of chocolate, carrot cake. But we do have some others. I brought today some French toast maple with bacon, and we have some Guinness cupcakes that are topped with a ganache and Bailey's Irish cream cheese buttercream frosting.
Chocolate and Guinness?
Yeah, it's really delicious. So we do have our base cupcakes, in answer to your question, are very traditional, but we do have some specials that we rotate in depending on the season and what we feel like making.
What are your most popular, would you say? You said the red velvet is very good.
Red velvet's popular, but probably the most popular are our hummingbird cupcakes. And I don't know if any of you are familiar with that, but it's an old southern recipe. And it's a banana, pineapple, and cinnamon cupcake that has a cream cheese buttercream frosting. I have some here for you to try. And those are very, very popular.
That's terrific.
Well, they're nice because if we have clients who have early morning meetings, they might not necessarily want a chocolate cupcake. So if we offer something like a carrot cake or the hummingbird that has the fruit in it, people really like that. So it's a nice option to have.
At what point do you want to be offering samples?
You can start right now.
Okay. You guys want to start offering? And I think probably on...
I have a mini size and I have regular size, and I do just want to say we at the shop we bake with shell nuts and peanuts. So if anyone does have an allergy, probably not a good idea. Even though nothing here has nuts in it today, we do use them on a regular basis. So I just like to let everyone know.
That's good. Thank you.
You're welcome. So basically, what you'll see over there are the cupcakes that we put a swirl on. And then we take something like a nonpareil and put that on top, and then put one of our flowers on, or a face if we do faces, and they really look so pretty. And again, it's all edible. So.
And this is the red velvet.
Yes.
Yes.
So it's just a nice touch.
This is great. This is like a painter's palette.
Oh, we have tons. It's really fun actually when you have a special event. Like weddings are very fun, and what we try to do with weddings is certainly you're not going to have monkey faces on the cupcakes unless the bride would like them.
Depends on what the husband looks like.
But we'll do things like butterflies. Seashells are popular. We do a lot of seashells. And actually the edible pearls look beautiful if you put them on a cupcake swirl.
Well, you had some here, right? Okay, Tracey does.
Yeah, the edible pearls look beautiful. These are not wanting to cooperate with me.
And cupcakes are becoming more popular for weddings.
Cupcakes are great for weddings because you can have several different flavors. You save about $2.50 a person because you're not paying a cake cutting fee, which is really expensive. So add on top of the cake, you're now paying the function hall, $2 upwards of cake cutting fees. So the brides like the fact that everyone gets a cupcake. They're portable, people can take them home if they don't eat them.
I've seen exhibits where they actually are sort of stacking them
Yes.
into a beautiful tower.
Oh, they can look beautiful. We also make French macarons now. So sometimes we'll set up a dessert bar where we'll have cupcakes, a mini cake, macarons, and just some candy like pillow puffs, and it looks beautiful.
The macarons are kind of a big
Oh my
trend
God.
now.
They are so tough to make. I spend more time swearing in my kitchen than making them. Yes.
I never got it.
Yep,
Okay, what's the difference between a macaron and a whoopie pie?
Macarons are actually, they're great because a lot of people want gluten-free now, and macarons are gluten-free because they're made with almond flour.
No kidding.
And
That's great.
they're simple in that there are only 4 ingredients for the basic shell, but getting the feet and getting them perfect and not stained and to rise, it's really, really tough. So
So it's all about technique and practice.
it's all about technique, and I'm fortunate enough to be going to France in May, so I'm going to take some baking classes while I'm there, and the macarons are what I'm going to focus on, so that'll be really fun.
That's exciting. How are the cupcakes,
How are you guys
everybody?
doing over there?
She does good work.
Yes, she does. So do you guys think it's easy? Like, do you feel like this is something you could definitely do? And yeah, it's really fun, isn't it?
How are we doing over here?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, we did some great pinks and yellows and blues and oh, this is great.
Another thing that you want to remember when you're working with anything, obviously mistakes will happen. It's inevitable.
Our creative director was saying, just remember my medium is magazines.
So we've come up with some ways to deal with mistakes. This is for the really big mistake, like I just put my elbow through a cake I just covered in fondant. After about 2 of these, you really just don't care anymore.
What do we like? This is, no,
It's vodka. And this is for a more practical mistake. Always keep some vodka handy, some Q-tips, and a paintbrush. Again, if you're putting dried fondant onto the side of a cake and you use too much glue, you're gonna have runoff and it's gonna stain your cake. And if you can get it right away with some vodka, you'll save yourself so much heartache. I highly recommend, if you're using bigger pieces, if you're using a bigger, heavier piece like flour or shape on the side of your cake, attach it with royal icing, because royal icing is just like cement. If you have smaller pieces of fondant or pieces of fondant that have not yet hardened, then you can go ahead and use your glue and it will stick nicely to the cake.
most people may know this, but royal icing is
Just confectioner sugar and a tiny, tiny bit of water. You
Okay.
can actually buy a packet and make the mix. That's what I do. It's so much easier for the royal icing.
that's great.
It's very simple. You can get it at a cake supply store, and it's easy to make. Sometimes you want to carry a piece of fondant up over the edge of a cupcake or cake. You need the fondant to still be pliable, and that's where you might run into trouble. So, yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Would you taste it?
Yeah.
No, actually, that's a really good
I'm
question.
just going to repeat the question for everybody. The question was if you're putting the fondant on top of a cupcake,
man, I was
is
Or
it-
cake.
or cake, is it going to dry out? Is it going to be? dry and hard.
I can.
What you want to do is, let's say we're going to cover a cake with fondant. We bake our cake, we let it cool, we crumb coat it, and then what we do is when the crumb coat has dried, we put another layer of buttercream on. Some people don't use buttercream, we do because people generally like frosting. Some people will crumb a cake and just put like an orange, like an apricot or orange marmalade on, and put the fondant on. You need something for the fondant to stick to.
And that keeps it soft, that helps to keep it.
So, the fondant? No, it won't stick to the cake. It needs sugar, and it's sort of like a chemical reaction. It's like a glue. So if you have a layer of buttercream and it hasn't yet gotten to that crunchy hard stage, that's when you want to cover it with your fondant. Because then once the fondant is on the cake, you use a smoother, or you can use your hand. I prefer to use a smoother. And you can manipulate the frosting underneath as well as the fondant. You can smooth out any lumps. If you get little tiny air bubbles, you just take like a hat pin or a toothpick and just poke a tiny hole in the air bubble, and it'll just smooth out for you. And this is where you need to use your cornstarch, because this will get sticky on the fondant, and then you'll feel it sticking and the fondant will start to pull. So you use a liberal amount of cornstarch and then you just brush it off.
So in that example, say the next day you serve the cake.
It's very fresh.
It's soft.
It's soft. The fondant locks in the moisture. You would be amazed. A fondant covered cake.
Because it always looks like plastic.
Yeah, no. The fondant needs the air. You don't ever want to refrigerate fondant because moisture is fondant's enemy. It'll cause it to weep and get goopy. So you want to leave the cake out and let the air set, and everything stays locked in. One of the things we do with our cupcakes and our cakes is also before we frost them, we use what's called the simple syrup. So we melt down water and sugar, equal parts, a cup of water, a cup of sugar. We bring it to almost the boiling stage, it all dissolves. We let it cool, and then we paint our cupcakes or our cake with simple syrup. We put on our crumb coat layer, we put on our layer of buttercream, then we put the fondant, and my husband will tell you we've had cakes and cupcakes that have lasted.
I'll eat them for a week.
Really, they do not dry out. You would be amazed. And the thing you want to remember when you cover the cake with fondant is also roll it out to about 1/4 of an inch. You don't want it to be a fondant steak because it's not a good, it's just not good to have a mouthful of fondant like that.
Yeah.
And it's just nice to have a thin enough layer. Not something that's going to tear as you lift it, but certainly not so that it's thick. You'll know, once you get the hang of working with it, you feel, moving it around and manipulating it, what's right and what's not.
Yeah, and the textures,
Absolutely,
how they
yep.
would pair. How we doing?
I'm fine. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Any questions for Tracey?
What's a crumb coat?
A crumb coat.
Crumb.
It's sort of like you can take a knife and we refrigerate our cakes after they cool so they get firm. And you can take a knife and just with a serrated edge, just sort of take that initial crust off the cake. And then the crumb coat of frosting sort of locks the crumbs into that layer of frosting. So when you put your next buttercream layer on, you don't see any of the crumbs. They're trapped in the crumb coat layer, yeah.
How long do you let that sit, crumb coat layer?
I let it sit for a little bit. I mean, I haven't really ever timed it because generally we're trying to get things done.
Is that buttercream frosting?
Yes, it is. Yep, buttercream. For the crumb coat.
And you can hold top.
Can I give a lady over there a small Guinness?
No, that I don't, just the sides.
Okay. Any more questions for Tracey? And did everybody get a cupcake?
There's plenty of them here, so take some home too, because I don't want to lug them back to Massachusetts.
Okay, well, thank you, Tracey.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you again for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Website.